The fumes emitted from vehicles affects not only trees and plant life, but also the wild animals that live in the forest. The large number of hotels, summer houses and restaurants brings its own set of problems. The careless disposal of waste by these hotels and restaurants threatens the fragile ecosystem of the park. Garbage and contaminated streams are to be found all along the once pristine trekking routes. This solid waste and contaminated water has become a serious threat to the environment. Much of it is non-biodegradable, and the rest decomposes at a particularly slow rate due to the cold climate. The garbage can harm the animals of the forest too, as they forage for food. Where there were once streams of crystal clear water, there are now rivers of garbage. The polluted water affects communities downstream who have to go further from home every day to find clean water. Waterborne diseases force the local people to spend money on medical care, which they can hardly afford. All this pollution contributes daily to the degradation of the forest, and the eubia is under threat. Both visitors and local communities need to be aware of the harm the waste and pollution is causing. The lack of proper waste management makes the problems worse. All this waste pollutes the forest and harms animals and humans alike. If we don't change the way we treat the forest, there will soon be no sanctuary left. Nothing for the visitors to enjoy, nor for the mountain communities that have made Ayubia their home for generations.
evening. Assalamu alaikum. You're watching BTV World. I'm Fahim Bangush with the headline news for this hour. Pakistan conducts a successful test flight of indigenously developed Fatah-1 guided multi-launch rocket system. Prime Minister Imran Khan expresses satisfaction over the positive trend of Pakistan's exports, congratulates the exporters and performance of Commerce Ministry. Balochistan government constitutes a joint investigation committee to probe into the tragic incident in Mach. The Afghan government formally requests Pakistan to hand over bodies of their citizens killed in the Mach incident. Spokesperson Balochistan government Liaqat Shahbani appeals the Hazara community to bury their loved ones. Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi holds telephonic conversation with his Saudi and Qatari counterparts, lauds the willingness of GCC members to resolving mutual disputes and terms it as a good omen for regional peace and stability. U.S. Congress formally certifies Joe Biden as the next U.S. president as President Trump immediately releases a statement pledging an orderly transition. Tens of thousands of farmers and tractors occupy an expressway near the Indian capital of New Delhi as their ongoing protest against Modi government's new farm laws intensifies. PCB announces England women cricket team will tour Pakistan for the first time in October, joining the men's side in an unprecedented joint trip. No England team have played international cricket in the country since 2005. That's all for now. For further details and live streaming, do log on to our website world.btv.com.pk. You can find us on our Facebook page, the name of BTV World, and follow us on Twitter at WorldBTV. Thank you for joining us.
There are several practical measures you can take to protect yourself from the new coronavirus. One of the most important is regular, safe and effective hand hygiene, using soap and water or alcohol-based hand rub. Here are the steps recommended by WHO to follow. You too can have safe and clean hands anywhere. Now I'm calling on the world to take the WHO Safe Hands Challenge to be ready for coronavirus.
Those who look for seashells will find seashells. Those who open them will find pearls.
Passion for polo will be the highest on the world's highest polo ground. Chandur invites visitors to experience a traditional polo tournament between the teams of Chitral and Gilgit. The tournament is held on Chandur Pass, the highest polo ground in the world, at 3,700 meters above sea level. The first time a polo tournament took place on the Chandur Pass was in 1936. It is a place unique and exotic in itself, surrounded by some of the most spectacular mountain scenery in the world. The event marks the annual rivalry between the teams of Chitral and Gilgit. The polo tournament has some added attractions for the visitors: trout fishing at the nearby streams and lakes, and a festival of folk dances and music of northern Pakistan. The event in itself offers a fascinating insight into the lifestyle of the people of this region. Their culture and indigenous customs are a delight to behold for the visitors. Crystal clear lakes, snow-covered mountains, alpine flowers, and vast stretches of green grass are added attractions. Fairs and festivals of Pakistan. The ancient city of Taxila is the heart of stonework in Pakistan. This art, which has been preserved and practiced for centuries,
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Perspective. We'll be talking about the PDM and the fact that the movement itself has hit a wall at this time. Whether the momentum with which the PDM started has now consistently is failing. What are the reasons? What are the reasons behind this lapse of fervor, momentum? Although according to them the jalsas have continued, the narrative has switched either between anti-establishment or inflation, price hike. Is that one of the reasons? Is one of the reasons the fact that they're not very clear about what will happen in the future? Is one of the reasons the parties themselves have different stakes? All of these questions today, and what happens in the future? What concrete steps, if any, do we know at this time the PDM intends to take in the future? The future certainly seems murky. Is it because there are certain, is the government responsible for giving them a free rein and therefore them falling on their own feet? All of that today on Perspective. I have with me Ahmed Jabaz, who is Central Secretary Information PTI. Thank you for being with us today. Zaid Kishkori, who is a journalist. Thank you for joining us today. We will also be joined by Rana Ehsan Afzal Khan, who is leader PMLN. Thank you everyone for being with us today. Ji, Jawad sir, how do you see the pace of PDM? We've been talking about this for a while. We have been talking about how, you know, the fervor, we start from the Gujranwala Jalsa and we chalk out the path that the PDM has taken. What is, I mean, at this time, the things certainly seem unclear. We don't know what the future is, what their game plan is. It started with, you know, talking about resignations, and then the government coming back and saying, well, do it now, do it now. And then, you know, of course, the back and forth exchange about how it is the last resort, all of that. Why are, first of all, do you think things are at a standstill as far as the PDM is concerned at this time? The Banu rally yesterday also, we saw that Mariam Nawaz and Bilawal Bhutto Zardari were not present.
Mahrukh, first of all, I think the to-the-point answer to your question lies in the fact that today in talk shows, host and the participants both are trying to identify that what is the direction of PDM, what is the strategy. So that basically explains that PDM is without a strategy. They don't know what are the next steps, they don't know about their objectives. So that is one fact. But I would like you to take you back when the PDM movement was started. And in this show, your show and other forums, I highlighted some very basic aspects on the composition of PDM vis-a-vis objectives of the PDM. You know, the composition of PDM, which is primarily the three major parties, PPP, PMLN and JUIF. And I said that the stakes of each one of them are different. And when your stakes are different, then your objectives cannot be combined. They cannot match, they cannot align. So this was the basic fault line in the composition of PDM right from the beginning.
But don't you think their stakes, okay, you know, as far that's, I mean, there's no two opinions about the fact that the stakes are different. But the goal has always been for Imran Khan to resign. There seems to be.
I would now explain. You see, if you look at the strategy of Pakistan People's Party, all the jalsas which have been hosted by People's Party, it was their own political activity, whether it is Shaheed Benazir Bhutto's anniversary, whether it is anniversary of Karsaz incident. So rather than PDM, yes, they were inviting the PDM leadership, but basically they were doing their own activity based on their own legacy of activities every year which they were doing.
So you're saying that basically they were trying to build up their own party.
So you see, the People's Party right from beginning, you can see that difference. On the other hand, JUIF and PMLN, they were hosting the PDM activity, whether it is Lahore or Multan or Peshawar. But on the other hand, Pakistan People's Party was different. Now look at the situation where the hype of resignations was so much that it seemed like that the resignations are coming and the next day government is going. And then you see that this question of resignation is totally eliminated from the strategy of PDM. Now nobody can talk about it. Nobody can talk about the time frame. Now they have come to the next strategy that 31st January you resign. But if obviously the government will not resign, then what is your strategy on 1st of February? So you are not resigning. So then you are talking about a long march. This is again a weather dependent. So that means that strategy is also not clear. And in the meantime, you know, the political journey is very fast paced. And if you are not as fast paced as the journey, then you are left behind. Now PDM has already wasted about 2 months in creating a consensus or the clarity about their objectives. Now they are faced with the challenges of the by-elections. That means the entire attention and the focus of political activity will be on the by-elections, followed by the Senate elections. So where is PDM then?
Right, okay.
And now these two political activities, they will be fully participated by the PDM parties also. Right. So this is very interesting.
Right, I will come back to you. I'm going to go to Zahid Kashkori Sabji. Zahid Sahab, do you agree with what Jawad Saab is saying essentially? Do you think it's about pace? Do you think it's about mixed objectives? Do you think it's about a lack of clarity as far as the PDM is concerned, or what is behind this?
Thank you, Mahrukh. Somehow the momentum of PDI, PDM, could not live up to the expectations of people of Pakistan, because I see all these things in a different way. Perhaps they wanted to pull out the crowd, more crowd, 11 political parties, they all stand united against the government and its policies, but in the past 3 months, perhaps it was the government which provided opportunity in first or two jalsas of PDM, particularly in Multan. They showed the resistance, and there seemed to be a momentum that now people are coming out against the government, but after that the government changed its strategy, political strategy, to not to go against PDM, just let them to do what exactly they want to do. Otherwise the pandemic was on the high speed. They turned again.
Zaid, do you think that PDM is perhaps backtracking at this time? They talked about resignations. They talked about the ultimate goal. They've given a deadline like of 31st January. But barring that, if that doesn't happen, like Jawad Saab is saying, they don't seem to have a concrete. I mean, what will they do? And like Jawad Saab is saying, Senate elections will happen, making the government more stronger.
Somehow their journey and the destination was not clear. Even it has been 4 months now, and they themselves are not clear either to go against the accountability drive, or to not to contest Senate election, or to submit resignations. And all these three, just let me clear it that the first one they are going to participate in the upcoming Senate election, because they cannot afford it. It's true that these two leading political parties sitting on opposition benches, they must not be, in the Senate of Pakistan. They'll be thinking to grab seats to live up and show their numbers in the upper house of the parliament. And it's clear that now they are going to participate, and secondly, they are not going to submit their resignation, I'm sure, because the momentum they thought once upon a time could not be achieved in coming 3 or 4 months, at least.
What about coming to, okay, I will come back to you. I'm going to go to Rana Ehsan Afzal Khan, who is going to be, who's going to have to answer a host of these questions. Rana Saab, what do you think? I mean, what's the reason behind PDM's, even if you don't acknowledge failure at this time, there certainly seems to be a lull. And, there's no clarity. How do you see the future? Do you think that this is only temporary? Do you think that the government is perhaps being over-optimistic, thinking that the movement itself has taken a hit? Or, what is your take on this?
The biggest question is not going to be asked to the PDM. It is going to remain to the government that how have they performed, how much have they delivered, and I think that question remains there. When we talk about PDM, I think there are two things. There are many things. Number one, the unity of 11 parties is intact. The agenda, the 26 agendas are intact. Now, obviously, yes, strategy has changed over the resignation, and that has been majorly because different parties, even though the goal is the same, the intensity and how to reach there, there were different versions, and we feel that by resigning, the government would not have fallen when it was discussed in detail. That strategy did change, but that was not our only strategy. We have the long march coming up. We could go for in-house change. We are going to keep on, putting awareness across Pakistanis about the performance of this government and where we're heading. And at the end of the day, Mahrukh, what is...
Right, let me just clarify. When you say that there is, you could go for in-house change, you're saying that, you would be okay with somebody else taking Imran Khan's place. At this time, you're talking about performance, you're talking about the government's, overall how the government has been doing and criticism on it. But you started with a very clear anti-establishment stance. The PML ended, and then it seems to have veered away from that, and now it's talking about other issues like inflation and price hike and performance, all of those things. So what is it really?
You see, when you read the 26th point, it includes all that, and we were never anti-establishment. We were only anti-establishment participating in democracy, which they're not supposed to as per the constitution. So we are pro-army, we are pro-Pakistan armed forces, and we are pro-everything, but we want the constitution to be followed as it is written. And every institute should be working within their mandate. So that stance is still there, and we want that we should decide on how this country is going to be governed in the future, specifically in view of the establishment participating beyond the constitution. So that narrative has not changed, and it will not change in the future. Yes.
The PDM, do you think that perhaps the PDM, was not cognizant of the relationship between the PDM, the government and the establishment? You underestimated it, or because when you talk about anti-establishment,
Mahrukh, only one thing has changed. That is the stance on resignation. Yes, that has, it has mellowed down, and obviously now it's not going to happen. All parties, I don't think they're going to go for it. So that thing has changed, but everything else remains the same. I mean, and the best thing, what is most important is that a strong opposition is good for the country. So whatever has happened according to the constitution of Pakistan, and nothing undemocratic has happened up till now. I mean, none of the PDM move was ever undemocratic, so everything was in that preview. And now you see, now you can look at the government's response. The government, number one.
Let me come back to you, Rana Sahab. Let me come back to you. Jawad Sahab, do you think that it is in essence accepting the fact that now PDM will concentrate on being an effective opposition, not resign, work within the criticize within the parliament, and also continue these rallies? But the point is, this government is nearly 3 years into PTI is into
next year,
right? It'll be 3 years. So there's a lot of time to go as far as the term is concerned. Will it be possible for PDM to continue this pace of jalsas, to continue this, even if once a month they hold a rally? Is it possible for them to do it?
I think, Mahrukh, you have asked the most pertinent question. And I think I very partially answered this question, that politics is a very fast-paced journey, and it has gone faster in the digital age. That means that a political activity, a political agenda has to be implemented and achieved through a small window. If you cannot, then there is a next window where the stakes are changed, where the objectives are changed, and the public attention is also diverted. So in my opinion, PDM has missed that opportunity or the window, whatever they had. And now your question, that how long PDM can last to get the public attention, to maintain the hype about their narrative. So it's a very big question. Already 3-4 months have passed, and expecting public to remain attentive, expecting media to continue talking about this thing for the next few months, especially when you have more significant political events in the offing. I can tell you this by-election, then Senate, and then the AJK elections are coming up. So this political journey, this is going to be one after the other. Now you imagine that PDM now, just to keep them alive, they have to look for issues where they can depend, they can relate themselves to that, or try to keep the momentum alive. That at this moment, just let me add this thing, that the entire attention of PDM at this moment is in Balochistan about this incident in March, and they want to draw political mileage out of that. Now they're left with no other thing to sell to the public. Now they are coming to Quetta, and today two political parties, top leadership was there, and they were trying to get some political mileage out of this very unfortunate incident. So I think perhaps PDM is left with no other cards, that they have to rely here and there.
But isn't it true that it is because of the Prime Minister's absence that, you know, they've
Exactly.
as you say, that they are making, you know, playing politics on it, but it is because of that.
Mahrukh, just look at any civilized country. The Prime Minister's presence in the country means it is for every part of the country. I mean, his policies, his vision, his attention, I mean, it is not always with a physical presence. But despite that, Prime Minister has already announced, and the media team of Prime Minister has already announced that Prime Minister is going to visit the victims, and he is going for the condolence. So there is no doubt about that the Prime Minister will not go.
Right.
Now, the only thing which I am saying is that out of this very unfortunate incident, now PDM is trying to take some political mileage, which is very unfortunate, and it also shows their frustration and having no other card to play, and perhaps this is what they are trying to do.
Right, okay, I will come back to you. Ji, Zaid Saab.
Actually, the debate we are going to build on PDM very much issue that either they are successful or not, but one thing is very important, that they are creating awareness among masses that what exactly the political parties for better democracy could not achieve in the past. Because in a different point of view...
Do you think, let me ask you this, do you think that they have in essence, if you talk about the main political parties, if you talk about Maryam Nawaz and Bilawal Bhutto, that they have accepted now that they are likely, this is their way of criticizing the government within the system? Because obviously Rana Ehsan Saab is also saying that there seems to be a backtracking on resignations. So when they're not going to resign, they're staying in the system. And when they're staying in the system and they're, you know, these rallies, these jalsas, whatever we may call them, are, you know, talking and criticizing the government, is certainly a political, democratic right of any political party, any individual even, to go out and criticize the government. And the government, you know, maybe can be bothered about it in a healthy sort of way, can check its performance. But other than that, if there's no march to Islamabad, that's all it will be, right?
Actually, Islamabad is the focus point, and every political party wants to get just do protests here and media limelight and everything to just to grab the attention of the people. But this PDM is bound to be in the system. They can't go away, and this is also a fact that the legacy behind the young leadership of PMLN and Pakistan People's Party, unfortunately, you know, is not very much clear, and there are certain issues continue with the legacy of different cases they first formed against one another, and now this issue of accountability is also very, very critical, because the stage is high, and the stakes of these political parties, particularly the Pakistan People's Party stakes in Sindh, they cannot go away. And this was one of the perhaps reason, either though the PMLN perhaps already, but my sources said as a reporter that now PDM would come up with new strategy, either soon after the Senate election. This momentum I could see that...
But okay, you know, the momentum we've all agreed, and you know, except for Rana Ehsan Saab, we all agree that the momentum is clearly fizzled out. But you know, what other strategy can there be, in your opinion? You know, if you think about it, there was, of course, you know, the resignation, there's the march. What other strategy is it?
Actually, new strategy, you know, when the government itself, I certainly observed this, that provided opportunity to opposition political parties on certain issues, like they sometime most important commodities go beyond people reach, and the price is high, and you know, that hike created a problem for the government, and they formed the committees and commissions and reports come out, but the action against these accused could not be seen. Either the cases are in the court against them. But yes, the sugar issue, the flour issue, and
then also the accountability issue. If you talk about Shehbaz Sharif Saab or Hamza Shehbaz, in their cases, it's been more than a year that they've been in jail and nothing has been proven against them.
This is one of the biggest problems, because this seemed to be a trailblazing trial and only just going against the leaders or political people who are in the opposition. And of course, there are many cabinet members as well who are facing NAB investigation, but we did not see action against them, by the way. Even the call-up notices were not received. And this created doubt on the accountability system in Pakistan. And the most important thing, I could see that in September this year, the chairman NAB would be completing its term, and now there would be a great challenge for the government to come up, not only for the government but also for the opposition political parties as well, to develop consensus on this new NAB chairman issue, because under the new law now, if the chairman completes his term in September 2021, then after that NAB, we could see that would not be operative anymore, because new references could not be filed until the full-fledged chairman signed it. And the good thing happened recently, and thank you very much to the Supreme Court of Pakistan, that now new accountability courts now going to become operative. And this system around, that more than 1,000 or maybe around 1,300 references now being heard in different accountability courts, around 21 functional accountability courts. And it's a good sign that the accountability process could go swiftly. And this is a good sign, and the Supreme Court of Pakistan did this. And thank you to the government as well, of course. They gave go-ahead recently. And the other thing, the accountability laws and the consensus could not be developed between the government and the people. We see this, that perhaps political parties, two leading political parties whose top leadership is facing serious cases. It has been 3 years now, but the outcome is slow, very slow. We witnessed that in the PMLN that many people were arrested by NAB and given bail by the court.
Accountability is always is a very real issue, and I will ask Jawad Sahab about it. But let me go to Rana Sahab. Rana Sahab, so what are you now? Is the PDM now promulgating new strategies?
First of all, let me respond to what has been said. It seems that everything is hunky-dory and the country is, progressing like anything. That is not the case. 3-4 months have not passed. Actually, almost 3 years have passed. And the window of opportunity is actually closing for the government, because nothing has been delivered as of yet. None of the promises have been fulfilled. And we're not even reaching to the point where we can see that maybe in a year or 2 years they're going to be fulfilled. IMF has actually predicted a GDP growth of 0.5% for this year, which means that there's going to be zero job creation. So, inflation is still above 8%, and when you compare it to the region, it's pretty high. Yes, Corona has helped the government that the debt has been rescheduled, you're not in the IMF program. When the reality kicks in, when all of this happens, the government, things are not easy. Look at the fiscal deficit already. So I think...
Right, of course. As far as, issues of governance is concerned, as far as price hike, inflation is concerned, those issues may be there, but do you think that it was essential for this kind of jalsas, for this kind of rallies, the way that the PDM has tried to mobilize people? Because you have clearly said, you're not saying that we're just criticizing the Prime Minister, his performance. You are saying, go Imran Khan, go.
Of course, I mean, and that movement is still on. And as far as I know, Banu and who responded early. I mean, the response of the public was amazing. All of our public rallies have been good, and we're satisfied with the response. Yes, again, I would repeat that one strategy, which was to, resign in mass. That has changed because, when we discussed that in detail, it would not have brought in the result that the government would fall. So we're going for our other strategies, as I've said, the in-house team, the long march. So we have many options still left, and I think the pressure is on the government, which wanted to shift the elections, which has arrested
pressure. The government doesn't seem to be taking any pressure, because the government has said, you said I will resign, the government said go ahead. You have now decided, according to you, that you will not resign. So the backtracking is happening from your side.
No, I think the government is under tremendous pressure, and the proof or the evidence is, look what they happened to Faza Asif. Their accountability drive is moving along the schedule of PDM. If there is a rally somewhere, the anti-corruption starts its movement on in that area. They start arresting MPAs, local MPAs and MNAs. There's one rally and then dozens of spokespersons are responding to aggressively. So the government is obviously under pressure, and the biggest pressure is the pressure to perform, which is not happening. And they're desperately trying to build a narrative that there is an economic turnaround, whereas there isn't. Just for example, take exports, which have only increased 5% compared to last.
So you are happy with the government, the pressure on the government, and the fact that they're under pressure to perform, which would be great as far as the opposition is concerned. If you were not asking for a prime minister who has been elected, whatever the PDM may say, to resign.
I'll tell you what, our narrative is that, this government is a coalition government, where the coalition is not natural. It is a forced coalition by some undemocratic forces. And now that, once that is removed, this government is going to fall. So there are many strategies which can come in the future, and we are still going for that aim, which is to get rid of this government. And also, during that process, putting a great pressure on the government to wake up from its slumber. Otherwise, they're going to go with these strategies which the PDM is bringing along.
Okay, Jawad Sahab, you think that that's okay then? Well, if they're just going to do it to get more performance out of you, then that's fine.
I think that's very positive, but I think the only thing is they need to understand what exactly is performance and performance indicators. Now, just I give you one example that Rana Sahab mentioned that there is zero job creation, but on the other hand, if you go to the Pakistan's main industrial sectors like Sialkot and Faisalabad, the entire manufacturing have booked their orders for the next 6 months. They are running to the full capacity. They are short of skilled labor. So how can we, talk about that there are unemployment or there are no job creation? I mean, this and result of this industrial activity is that Pakistan has secured more than $2 billion exports, which is more than any other year in last 10 years. So it also explains that there is a economic activity in Pakistan. Then you look at the foreign reserves of Pakistan. There is a constant increase in that. It has crossed $20 billion, starting from $9 billion, which we inherited. And then you go to the rupee dollar parity. I mean, it has come down from 170 to less than 160. Stock exchange today has crossed the index of 45,000, which is the highest in last 3 years, even more than what we inherited.
So maybe we can give PDM the credit for the pressure that they have put on the
market. I think there was no switch that as soon as the PDM exerts the pressure and the stock exchange starts going up and the dollar is going down, I mean, it must be the result of some economic policy in last 2 years. And one important also clarification that I have heard this thing many times that people refer to PTI as 3 years term at this moment. PTI at the moment has completed 2 years and 5 months, and our 3 years will be completed in August this year. So let's wait for 3 years before we start saying 3 years. But on the other hand, like I've said, if we are talking about the performance or the indicators or the delivery, then we have to talk in terms of statistics. So if there are some gray areas, so there are some bright areas as well, and perhaps there are more bright areas than the gray areas.
Let me go to Zahid Saab, and I will come back to you. Ji, Zahid Saab, do you think that this, let's move on from whatever PDM decides. If there is a new strategy or not at this point, do you think that as far as leadership is concerned, we've seen that with the PML and the PPP, it's the second tier leadership. In a sense, this movement has very much launched them. Wouldn't you agree? And if things continue at this pace, then do you think that, in the next general elections, as far as the PTI is concerned, do you think that there will be, perhaps they will have, problems as far as the PML and the PPP with regard to this new leadership and the way that it will, if it continues in the next 2 years or so?
But actually, these two political parties and PDM and then the Tehreek-e-Insaf, the government, still we cannot predict what exactly the picture would be after June 2021 of this political temperature and the political parties. But this one thing is very vital, that the first leadership of two leading political parties sitting on opposition benches, they are facing serious cases. One, the Pakistan People's Party, the former President Asif Ali Zardari and his sister, and including the Chief Minister Sindh also facing cases as well. And PMLN, Maryam Nawaz herself and the top leadership like Nawaz Sharif has been convicted, and we don't know that what would be the real picture, because cases are now being heard in different courts, and it's a strong possibility after 5 or 6 months there would be a new picture of different cases going on in accountability courts, and what would be the certain future of it. And most vital thing, very important thing, that PMLN is also going to form new strategy, and there was a loud and clear message by the former Premier Shahid Khaqan Abbasi, who went abroad, and the government let him to go abroad. We don't know that what message exactly he was carrying, and now he met a while ago in London, according to my sources, to Nawaz Sharif, and he would meet again on Saturday. And
so you're saying he's carrying a message from the government?
We don't know that the government is sitting here with us. They can tell us, and he could also carry a message from his brother as well, from Shehbaz Sharif, that what exactly their party future strategy could be, and the loud and clear message, according to my sources, that Shehbaz Sharif wanted that there should be no harsh criticism on some institution as the PMLN continues to pressurize or naming them in different.
So you're saying that he would want probably a reconciliatory relationship with the government?
It's sort of that, not only with the government, with different institutions as well, because they want some space. And the crucial case of Hamza Shehbaz Sharif is also for the bail in Supreme Court of Pakistan as well. This week also could be decided. He might get bail from the Supreme Court of Pakistan. So there would also be a relief for PMLN as well. So it could be a possibility. And the other side, NAB somehow seem to be fishing evidences against in very vital cases, and it might be, some people say, when you meet different people in NAB, like a case of Khaja Asif, that I studied this case, by the way, because it's not in the court yet, but under investigation and inquiry, that what exactly the investigators found out has already been either submitted before the Election Commission of Pakistan in shape of asset or liabilities, or their declaration had been made before the top electoral body and with the FBR as well. So we don't know that what would be the fate of this case, because it's under trial, under inquiry, under investigation. We don't, we should not comment on it. But it seemed that the first tier or the second tier leadership arrested first by the NAB, and they got bail after it.
Right.
And some of observation by the Supreme Court on NAB way of investigation seriously must be considered by political parties sitting in the parliament to review the law, because an institution is being criticized time and again, not only by the court but also by the accused as well on different forums.
But sir, before I go to Rana Ehsan, as far as NAB is concerned, how do you see things? Because we see that with NAB, that's clearly a bone of contention, because when you talk about the amendments on NAB, according to the government, they say that it is a form of NRO which they're not prepared to give. As far as the opposition is concerned, they say that it's a tool of victimization, so if these changes are not made, then we cannot do away with that victimization. Do you think that there is a possibility of the government and the opposition sitting together and actually coming to some sort of agreement on it?
It's very difficult, at least as I told you that September this year is conclusive and vital, not only for the government but also for two political parties who are facing, whose leadership is facing NAB cases. They are supposed and they are bound to at least review our laws, not only to appoint the new chairman for this accountability body, but also to come up with new laws, because acceptable and fair for the fair across the board accountability, because this country not only needed this across the board accountability, you know better that 1,300 references going on different courts, and this involve around 1,100 billion rupees of national exchequer accused and allegedly are bound to pay this money back to state of Pakistan. So that's why this accountability is not only necessary, but also both political parties sitting on opposition benches and the government is supposed to come up with new laws, so the process of accountability could go on, and it's better for democracy, better for state, and better for people of Pakistan as well.
Right. Let me go to Rana Ehsan Sahab. Rana Sahab, do you have comments about that? Do you think that there's possibility of the tone of the PMLN at this time, and later PDM also, perhaps changing to perhaps more conciliatory? Because of course it is the PMLN that has started naming names. It is the PMLN that has targeted individuals within the military also. So that narrative, and there was a lot of talk about the fact that the other, political parties were perhaps not in agreement on it and were made to go along with it. Do you think that there's a chance that there may be room for some a less fiery, less critical approach than before?
I think we're not going to bend on the 26-point agendas that we gave in September. I think they're going to stick, and the narrative is going to stick as well when we talk about following the Constitution. So I think there's going to be no change on that. I would like to comment on the NAB and the government claiming that we want an NRO. Firstly, I think the government played it
Shahid Khan Abati Sahab carrying messages to Nawaz Sharif Sahab? You wouldn't like to comment on that?
Shahid Khan Abati specifically said that he's not meeting Nawaz Sharif on the trip as of yet, because generally there's a 14-day lockdown required when you enter United Kingdom, and he's gone there for a personal family reason to the US.
Met now.
Yes, met.
According to Zahid Kashkori Sahab, he has met now, so we will know whether
He has been meeting not only in London today, but also on Saturday as well. This is what exactly I can confirm as a reporter, that he met Nawaz Sharif just 40 minutes ago. It was a detailed meeting, and also he is going to meet again on Saturday as well, because he all the way traveled from Washington to London last night, and he would be coming back to Pakistan, I can understand, next week, as family sources told me. But this is not only a coincidence. Of course, we can understand that he must be carrying very important message, not only from top leadership of PMLN, and he was traveling to US.
That message can also be emailed or be sent on a WhatsApp. I don't know if it was such an important where he is going to be. Well, Mahrukh, I would like to comment on the national NRO, that the government claims that we wanted an NRO from the parliament. You know, the National Reconciliation Ordinance, parliaments do not give ordinance. They make amendments and they pass legislation. So I think the government played it wrong. If you know, even if there were random demands, the parliament works from committees and things are debated. And when you have a majority, only then an amendment passes. So I think if the government would have brought forward this debate, it would have been a better move rather than calling it an NRO that the opposition was demanding from the parliament. Makes no sense. And well, I think Khaqan Abbasi Saab would just generally be visiting Mia Saab to inquire about his health rather than, you know, sending very important messages which could have been sent anyways through, you know, the latest mediums.
Okay. All right. Unfortunately, that's all the time that we have. Thank you so much for joining us, Ahmed Jawad Saab. Thank you for being with us. Zahid Kashkori Saab, thank you for joining us. Rana Ihsan Afzal Saab, thank you for being with us. Whether Shahid Khaqan Abbasi Saab met the former Prime Minister and whether, you know, something will come out of it, whether messages were exchanged or not, of course, we'll know soon enough. But the question is, if the PDM has now accepted that what they are doing is legitimate criticism of the government, for the government to perhaps perform better, then these kind of jalsas and rallies, how far will they continue into the next 2 years is a question to consider. Also, as far as the PDM itself is concerned, within the PDM, the strategy of or the way forward, backtracking on the resignations, certainly it is time for them to come up with a new strategy if they want to continue with the same kind of fervor, if they want to build the momentum which they seem to have lost in the recent past. Let's see what happens in the next couple of months. Thank you so much for joining us today on Perspective.